COVID-19 and closure do not come hand in hand. Some saying final goodbyes over FaceTime, and even fewer parting with a socially distant memorial. As families grapple with the loss of loved ones to the virus, it's an unfamiliar grieving process for most, but an all too familiar experience for military survivors.
My husband was First Lieutenant Demetrius Frison. He was an infantryman and infantry officer in the United States Army. In January of 2011, he deployed from Fort Knox to Afghanistan with 31126, the Blue Spaders. He was killed by an IED on May 10th of 2011, and my son Chris was just a little bit short of being 6 months old.
And like thousands of Americans during the pandemic, Mikki Frison did not get the chance to say goodbye.
Because they wouldn't open the casket. And they told me, like, you can't see him. And that was awful. When my son was about 3 years old, he started asking more questions. He started being more curious. Even though I had all the tools, I wasn't equipped to answer them for someone so close to me. Because when he would come up to me and say, like, "Mom, I want my dad," the only response I really had to him was, "I want him too."
Bonnie Carroll knows the feeling.
I'll take you back to 1992. I was serving in the Air National Guard myself. My husband was the commanding general of the Army National Guard up in Alaska. And, life was about as great as it could possibly be. And all of that changed on November 12th of that year when Tom and 7 other soldiers were killed in an Army plane crash. That just stopped my world.
This is truly a testament that love lives on.
The loss of her husband led Carol to create TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. It's a resource for military survivors like Frison and her son, Chris.
When he goes to a TAPS event, there's no explaining. We're all here. We all know why we're here. There's just like this unspoken bond.
TAPS has helped more than 90,000 military survivors since it was created in 1994. Its 24-hour National Military Survivor Hotline answers more than 19,000 calls a year, and the organization hosts more than 200 programs for military survivors each year, including good grief camps for children.
He's finally grieving, he's finally seeing the magnitude of what he's missing.
TAPS also gave Frison tools to navigate her own grief.
I think TAPS helped me realize that I don't have to do it all by myself.
Tools TAPS has now made available to the general public due to COVID-19. Expanding the program does not come cheap, but TAPS got help from USAA. The banking and insurance company announced its largest military aid initiative in its history, $30 million to nonprofits. As a recipient of some of that aid, TAPS has used funds to help pay for funeral costs, cover post-mortem suicide support, and expand its survivor care team during the pandemic. Care that has benefited Frison's family after losing not one, but 2 family members to COVID-19.
We watched Grandpa pass away on a Zoom chat. And the strange thing was, I don't think it affected me the same way that it affected everyone else, because I already had to say goodbye to somebody like that. And as miserable as it was, and as awful as it was, I was already ready for it.
Frison says people cannot quantify or qualify grief.
It's not a race.
But people can.
Just keep going.
Lauren Magarino, Newsy, Chicago.